This is a video tutorial on how to add collision to any custom mesh for Fallout 4. We're going to start off with what tools you need. They're going to be 3ds Max 2013, Bethesda tools, Nifskope, Elrich, and material editors. Two of those come with your Fallout 4 installation, those being Elrich and Bethesda tools. The others will have links in the description below. To find those, go to your Fallout Steam Apps Common Fallout 4 folder. Go into Tools, and you'll see you have Elrich here, and you have your NIF exporter here. This video is going to be divided into 4-ish sections. Collision using Havok content tools, collision using shapes, like custom primitives, Elriching files, BGSMing files, and how to attach the BGSM to your newly NIFed file. I'll put annotations in the top so you can skip from A, B, C to D if you know how to do most of this stuff.
That's life.
That's life.
That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune when I'm back on top in June. I said that's life.
Now that the model is imported into Max, as seen here, we're going to make sure it's sized correctly. So what we're going to do is bring in something from the Fallout game, such as a mannequin. I call him Mike the Mannequin. Looks like it's been resized correctly. That's about the size of a sign at, Costco, Walmart, whatever you have, that says aisle and what's in the aisle. So first thing before any collision, what we're going to do is reset the X form. So under Utilities, click Reset X Form. If you see none of these by the time as we go through, click on the More tab and they should appear here. Click Reset Selected under Modifiers, right click on X Form and Collapse to. And now it's time to add collision. Methods of collision are very easy to make. They both basically involve doing the same steps, doing it in two different ways. So for this example, we're going to be using the Havok Convex Hull utility. Under Havok Context Tools, Physics, open Convex Hull utility. I have trouble saying that word, so I'm probably going to say it wrong. With your model selected, you're going to want to select the lowest number here that will encase your model. The higher the number, the more CPU intensive it is. So, let's go 10. Yeah, I've been doing this enough. 10 looks good. And this is where, if you were to do a standard polygon, they both meet up. So there's an annotation to move to the next step. So this is the method on how to use a custom polygon or primitive to encase as a collision. So what you're wanting to do is find a good spot and a good shape that you're going to want to encase your object in. You want to go to Create, Standard Primitive, and select a shape that will go over your object. Let's go with a nice box or something. Bam. Come on, there we go. Close enough. So that just means that little part isn't going to have collision, but it's not the end of the world. So once that's done, this is where they both basically merge if you were to use Havok context tools or not. No matter which method you used, we're at the same step now. So what you're going to want to do is select your collision that you've created, and we're going to want to select and link it to our primary object that we want to add collision to. You can use as many primitives as you want to create it, as close as you want. Like I said, more CPU intensive perv. However, this is very simple. Player isn't going to do much with it. So a box does fine, or your convex hull does fine. So now that this is linked, make sure you turn off that mode, and let's just triple check to make sure it's a child. Display children. Sign, collision. Beautiful. Next, what we're going to want to do is select everything. Go to Havok Content Tools, Physics, and create rigid body with proxies. Ding! Right-hand side menu appears. Don't get scared, folks. Start filling these out. Class properties, let's not worry about those. General properties, mass. Make it work in the CK, you need at least a 0.01. This isn't how much the carry weight is for the player, so just leave it there. We're going to select some of these, the linear dampening, the angular dampening, the allowed penetration, max linear velocity, and max angular velocity. Quality type, what is your object? It is a fixed object, for me anyways. Don't worry about that. And I'm going to leave it at that. Next thing what you're wanting to do with everything selected is go to Utilities and go to Collision Group. If you do not see it, it's under the More menu. What the default material now we're going to select is when shot, what sound do you want it to make? Do you want it to be a fleshy, bodily sound? Or this, for example, we're going to do a nice light metal. And object type, very straightforward, use your head. What is it? This is a static object. It's not a weapon, it's not terrain, it's not a trigger. And make sure now you click Apply to Selected. And now you've added collision. There's still a couple more steps to go, however. On a side note, if you did use the custom Polygon primitive, what you're going to want to do with the collision selected is go under, what is it? Modify, and switch the shape type to mesh. That's it. Basically, let's just do that. Now, we're going to make it so we can attach the material later. With it, this just helps with the collision selected. Let's hide selection. Now select your model, and next we're going to open up the material editor. And as you can see, we still have everything here fixed and whatnot. Oh, but there's no materials. So just to refresh the system, we're going to show incompatible. Don't worry about that. Going to go down to standard, and we're going to apply the BS lighting effects. Boom. So we're going to do it the easy way. Double click on that. You can enter all the diffuse, normal spec masks, things like that here, but it's going to be easy just to attach the BGSM file later down the road. So we're going to make sure nothing is linked to it, so spam that button and leave everything else the same. You can look into it if you want. In this tutorial, I'm not going to be explaining it, unfortunately. Before leaving this, make with the material selected and with the mesh selected, assign material to selection. It should turn white. Oh, would you look at that. Perfect. So let's unhide everything. And it's enclosed in our collision. I forgot a bit there. And now we're going to export it. So now it's time to actually export this baby. What you're wanting to do now is just select the object, not the collision. Now we're wanting to go to File, Export Selection, so export selected, and we're going to want to find our Elrich folder. Done this many a time, so don't mind this. This is just my shortcuts. So Tools, Elric, Meshes, and let's call this Isles sign. Switch this to Nif and save. Now this is where things can get weird. This is static art, so a static mesh, so you don't have to change anything. I haven't played around much with the different modes, but these are the Papyrus scripts that will be exported along if there is one. So since we're sticking with static art, we're going to keep it with static art, and then we're going to click OK. So we don't have any errors. At this point, if you had an error, it means that you forgot to reset the X form at the start, most likely. So time to Elrich. With Elrich open, just to make sure we're all on the same page, create a processed folder if you do not have one. Go to File, Load Settings, Settings, and load the PC Meshes ESF. That's going to, screw you OneDrive, that should bring up the same settings here. Basically what it's saying is when processed, stick it in here, in this folder. So the great thing also about Elrich is that it can do textures too. So before we switch anything, let's stick our textures in the meshes folder as well. The only thing is that the meshes have to be inside a textures folder. So create a new folder in here, call it textures. We're going to take our diffuse, copy it in here, and then our normal and specular. Since these aisles all share the same, for this example, we're going to just use the one. Next, where did I put Elrich? Oh, let's go back. Bam. Open up Elrich. Everything's good. Here you can select what kind of texture size you want. 512. I think we were gonna do 2K for these. You can always switch these later. So we're going to start by converting the meshes. Ding. Green is good. Red is bad. If you come with red, click here and just look through the log items and see what the issue was. Everything here is good. Let's convert the textures now. So convert directory. Scroll through your directory all the way to the meshes folder. In Elrich, let's open that up too. Oh, there's the textures folder. And then click OK. Bam, bam, bam. There should be 3. Come on, green, green, green. Okay, good. So textures are done now. So if we close out of this and we go to processed, we should see our nifs and look, our 3 magical files. So let's stick these back. This was aisle, sign PC aisle, sign PC aisle. Yeah, so stick that there. And then these were the shared ones. So let's stick these back where they were. And let's check out our nif quickly. Oh, beautiful. So it is appearing in here, which is great. Got your tri-shape. Got the shader set. There aren't textures applied yet. They'll come later. And look, there's our collision right there. And the flags were automatically generated. So now it's time to get on to materials first. Now to create BGSM files, known as the material files for Fallout. When it comes to the whole folder organization, I'm very, very strict about it. Organization is my thing. So inside your data folder, you should have 3 things: materials, meshes, and textures. Inside there, we're just going to follow. We're in the aisle. We just made a correct nif for the aisle sign, so let's switch that out. And let's go back here. Time to make a material for the aisle sign. So materials, FOC, set dressing, signage, price co, or Costco. Shh, spoiler. And what we're wanting to do is open up our material editor. Once again, link is in the bottom. So, file, new. Here we're going to select our textures. Start with the diffuse texture. It's going to be a hunt. I'm in a totally different area. Let's go desktop. I know where I put these. It's not in there. I put it here. Textures. Aisle 1. There's that. Good thing again is if you click on the next texture, it'll load up from where you last were. Since the next 2 share them, put the normal in the normal spot and the specular in the specular spot. File, save as. Make sure we're in the same place. We're not. We're in textures, so we want materials. Click, 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 click. Call this aisle 1 IS1. BGSM is what it's going to save as automatically. If you want a BGEM file, you're going to have to specifically type .BGEM, which is an effect material, usually used for opacity. We don't have any opacities here, so don't sweat it. So let's save. Boom, there it is. So let's make sure everything's all right in it. Perfect. And now it's on to applying it to the NIF. So with our NIF open, and we also have our BGSM file on the other side, what we're going to want to do is attach it to our NIF. So open up all your little boxes until you reach the BS lighting shader property. What we're going to do is attach the BGSM here. So under name, we're going to right click and edit string index. So I am a stickler for organization, so this is going to be longer for me. Some of you might have it shorter. But what I do is right click here and copy the path all the way up to materials. So whether yours goes materials, then your BGSM, that's your own thing. So paste that. Next we're going to add the actual BGSM bit. So we're going to do /aisle1. At this point you are done, but I just like to show you how to stick it into the CK. So if you know how to do it, skip this bit. So how to stick the aisle sign in the CK. What we're going to want to do is copy everything inside our data folder. Copy here. And it's going to automatically create the file path, so we have our materials, meshes, and our texture files. Beautiful. So those are in. And now we're going to open the creation kit. I'll be with you in 1 second. Takes a while. Now it's time to add our mesh in. So what we're going to want to do is, since you remember I'm such a stickler for organization file-wise, let's replace one of the existing signs. Well, not replace, but we're going to use the reference in a way. So edit, what we're going to do is, this is going to be the price co aisle 1 sign. Aisle 1. And the reason I like to edit an existing one and create a new ID, due to the fact that there may be some things already in game, that some boxes as well, collision geometry or something like that, that I may forget. So next we want to click there on our NIF, and remember my strict file structure. I know where to find my NIF. Double click on there, and there it is. It is now ready to drag and drop into game. Next thing I want to show you before we end is how to do material swaps, and that is if your mesh uses, or if your mesh has different textures, but the different textures use the same mesh, then this is how you do it. Now we're going to add a material swap, and this is when you have multiple textures that use the same model. So for example, aisle 1, I want to make an aisle 2 sign. So what I did off camera was create a BGSM with a different diffuse for aisle 2. So what we're going to do is under miscellaneous in the CK, go to material swap. We're just going to create a new one. And ID, let's price co aisle 2. Next thing we're going to do is find the original material. So that would be the aisle 1 that we originally attached. And since I'm a strict stickler for, you know, folders, we know where to find it. Set dressing, signage, price co, aisle 1. Clicking on there, it'll appear here. We now want to make a replacement. So edit, aisle 2. Okay. So that is a material swap, which means now if we go back to our price co aisle sign, when placing it, or even in here, if we go edit, we can preview it now as if it was another aisle. Aisle 2. It's simple as that. Thank you for watching the tutorial.